Okay, here's a little video about order of operations. In life, you put your pants on first and then your shoes. Some of you may have children that have tried this the other way. In fact, my boys are just notorious for they want to make as little effort as possible to get their clothes on. And so there have been times when they have their shoes on, maybe have forgotten their pants or have to change their pants because they're not nice enough for school or whatever anyway, and they will try to do that the other way. It can be done, but it kind of makes a mess of things. It's not very easy. So just, anyway, math has a certain order of doing things too, just like getting dressed. We call it the order of operations, which is a fancy way of just saying this is what I'm going to do first. The first thing we always do are any parentheses. Then we take care of the exponents. Then we multiply and divide. Now, these are the same step, so these can be done in whichever order they come, and I'll explain that a little bit more, but just remember that this is step 3 together. Multiply and divide are together, and add and subtract are together. We talked about this at the beginning, or in the video, the class video talks about this. This is how a lot of people remember it. You may have heard this before. Oh, by the way, the multiply, divide, and add, subtract, you work from left to right on those. Okay, so some people remember this as PEMDAS. Just a little, they took, parentheses, exponent, multiply, divide, add, subtract. They remember PEMDAS. Or another thing that we remember is please excuse my dear, whoops, my R is in the wrong place, sorry, dear Aunt Sally. Okay, so please excuse my dear Aunt Sally is a nice way to remember order of operations. Let's do a couple. So here's our PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We have this big long problem. The first thing I'm going to do is find the parentheses. Here's a parenthesis right here. Parenthesis, I guess, is because it's just one. So I'm going to do what's inside here first. This is 2 plus 3, so this now is going to become 5. I'm going to write that number down below it. And I'm also going to write the sign next to that. Okay, because the signs kind of get stuck to the number they're next to. So since this sign was next to the parenthesis, then this is it goes with the 5. Okay, and I'm also going to cross that out to remind myself that I've already taken care of that. Then once I do that, I move on to the exponents. I have an exponent here. That's 2 cubed, or 2 to the 3rd. I'm going to do that math, which is 8. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And use your calculator if you need to. And then I'm also going to remember to write down the sign that goes with that. Okay, and cross it off because I'm done. Okay. I now can move on to step 3, to multiply and divide. I'm going to start left to right. So most people get confused here and they think that multiply always comes before divide. So right here we had 8 divided by 2 times 3. So most people would start here with this 2 times 3 and then do 8 divided by 2 times 3. But that's not how it works. You go left to right. So I'm going to do 8 divided by 2 first. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then I take that 4 and I'm going to multiply it by the 3. Okay, that gives me 12. Now I have a plus here. Sorry, let me finish that 12. I have a plus there, and that's going to just stay the same because I haven't moved on to step 4 yet. So I'm going to just write that down where it is. But then I see here that I have another multiply. So I'm going to do that multiply. 6 times 2 is 12. That writes down. And then I see I have a subtract 1, and so I'm going to write that down too. Okay, so now I've done all of my multiply and divide in here, and I moved left to right. Add and subtract is the same setup. I move left to right on add and subtract. So I'm going to come down to my new problem right here. I start out with 12 plus 12 is 24. Cross those out. 24 minus 1 is 23. You can write this out every time if that makes more sense to you. I kind of did it as a shortcut. So done with that, negative 1 or subtract 1. 23 plus 5 is 28. And 28 take away 8 is 20. So my answer here is 20 from that big long thing. Here's a little reminder on the left to right. Multiply and divide is one step. Remember, it was step number 3, and they are together. It could be divide and multiply, but that doesn't work for my dear Aunt Sally, right? So they said multiply and divide, but always go left to right. So it's kind of like, say, divide and multiply went to go get some fries. Divides in line first, he gets served first, then multiply gets next. If the multiply was in line first, then multiply would get served first, divide would get first served second. So just remember, it's whoever comes first, left to right. That's true for multiply and divide and add and subtract. Let me quickly run through one more example and then we'll let you go. So here's this one. Again, we're going to start with our parentheses for please. That's 8 minus 3. That becomes a 5. And I'm going to write down the sign that's next to that. It's connected there. Then I move on to my exponents. I have a 3 squared there. And I'm also, remember, going to write down the sign next to that. So that's times 9. Now this is kind of messy here. So sometimes I like to just rewrite everything down. Since I took out the other one was easier because it was just on one side, but this one it's kind of a big chunk out of the middle. So I'm just going to rewrite this problem so I can remember what I have. Okay. And now I'm going to work left to right doing my multiply and divide. I skip this, the 2 plus, because that's not multiply. I move on to 3 times 9 is 27, and then I move on to times 5, which is calculator 135, and then I say divided by 9. Again, I'm going to calculator that. I get 15 there. Again, I took this big chunk out of the middle, so I'm just going to write down my numbers that are left. My plus 15, and then I had a 2 there, and then the plus 6. So everything else in the middle is done, and I need to now use those, which is 2 plus 15 is 17. I'm sorry, well, plus 6 is 23. So there you go. Good luck this week.